Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Breck Roll. Alright, today we're going to do another episode of Bytes and Nibbles with Breck. Today's recipe comes to us from our friend James Clinkscales. He sends us a very interesting recipe for chicken marsalas. You think of something called chicken marsala sounds like it's going to be really complicated, but it actually looks pretty simple. So let's get going. I'm hungry. Alright, our ingredients for chicken marsalas are pretty simple. Needless to say, there's going to be some chicken, some flour, a little marsala wine, some sea salt, some oil, a little oregano, some butter, and some fresh mushrooms. So let's get going. So the first part of our recipe is we're going to take our chicken breasts, basically put some Saran Wrap over the top of it, and we're just going to pound it nice and flat. The recipe says make it about 1/4 of an inch thick and kind of an even thickness. So that's one. That's a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch thick. That just means we'll have to cook it a little longer. Two. Alright, I think that's pretty good. I'm just going to throw this away because I don't need that anymore. Got a little bit of skin here. I'm going to just peel that off. Might as well get rid of it now, right? Alright, the next part now is we're going to mix together the dry ingredients, which is the oregano, the salt, and the flour. Now, I just noticed a mistake on the recipe, because when the recipe says mix together the dry ingredients, it says mix together the flour, the salt, the pepper, and the oregano. But actually, pepper isn't included in the list of ingredients. So I'm not sure how much it is, but I'm just going to assume it's going to be the same amount as the salt. So we'll just add that in, we'll kind of fake it. So the four dry ingredients, like I said, are salt, pepper, oregano, and flour. It's going to be 1/4 cup of flour and 1/2 teaspoon of the other three ingredients. So I'm just going to mix that all together in a bowl because it all has to work its way together. So I've mixed all of my dry ingredients, my salt, my pepper, my oregano, and my flour all together in this medium-sized salad bowl. And that's sort of what it looks like. It's nothing really special. I didn't show you me mixing it together because, you know what, I'm sure you can use your imagination on that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to coat my chicken breasts in my flour mixture. Just kind of get it all nice and coated on there real good. Just get a nice coating all the way around it. Until we're good to go, nice and coated. Shake off the excess, and I'm just going to put it onto a plate here. And we're going to do the same with the rest of it. Two, number 3, And number 4. Now if you need to, you can always double up the recipe by increasing the amount of, well, by doubling everything basically. Isn't that sort of what doubling up the recipe means? Extra piece there, but that's okay. So in here I've got 4 tablespoons of butter and 4 tablespoons of olive oil. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to heat it in a medium heat until it begins to bubble a little bit. At which point we're going to put the chicken on. Now I'm probably going to need to do this a little bit differently just because I don't have a really huge skillet to do with this. So what I'll probably end up doing is having to kind of mix things up a little bit, but it should come out the same. Alright, I've got my whole concoction kind of heated up and it's starting to bubble just a little bit. And so I'm just going to put my chicken in there. And I'm going to try and get as much of it in there in one shot as I can. Maybe I'll be able to get it all in there. We'll get at least 3 of them in there. And we're going to let it cook for about 2 minutes. Yeah, we're going to get 3 of them in there. We'll have to do the 4th one separately, just because I don't have a big enough pot to do it in. But that's okay, it'll work. Alright, so I've flipped over my my chicken breast now after a couple minutes. I'm going to add in the mushrooms, and we'll just kind of let them do their thing. And we're going to cook it for another 2 minutes. Get all the mushrooms into the oil here so they actually start cooking. Alright, we're 2 minutes in, so I'm going to flip the chicken over again. Going to stir the mushrooms up a little bit. And I'm going to add the other 3 chicken breasts now, just so that we get it all in there, because it's all going to go in now, and we're going to finish up the cooking. And at this point, we're going to also add a half a cup of the Marsala wine. Now, I actually spent a little bit of time trying to figure out how to do this today, because this is the first time I've ever done any cooking with wine. And I figured, okay, well, cooking wine, you probably think it's going to be in the like in the same section where you get like vinegar and oil and stuff like that. I looked around there, I wasn't really successful in finding it, so I went over to the wine section, and the lady over at the wine section, she actually recommended that, you know, you could use cooking wine, but cooking wine tends to be a little higher in sodium, because it's, you know, vinegar-based, basically. And she actually brought me over to into the wine section where they had actual real Marsala wine. And she recommended using that. She says some people don't like using that because of the alcohol in it, but that isn't really that big a deal for me. So anyway, I've added the wine, I've lowered the heat a little bit, and we're going to cover it. We're just going to let it simmer for about 10 minutes. And while we're at it, I'm going to steam a little asparagus, because I like asparagus. Alright, our 10 minutes are up, and it actually looks pretty good. So let's take this out and give it a shot. So there's the final product. It looks pretty tasty. I've actually decided I'm going to eat all the mushrooms with this and make some more for subsequent meals. Like I said, I got 4 meals out of this thing because there's 4 chicken breasts in there. I'll just put the rest in the fridge and we'll eat it over the next few days. And since I got so many extra mushrooms, you know, like I said, I could just saute them up at the time I eat this. So let's give this thing a taste, see if it's any good. All right, taste test time. Yeah, it's pretty good. I probably put a little bit more oregano and a little bit more pepper in it to give it a little bit of flavor. But other than that, yeah, it's pretty tasty. The chicken's pretty good. You can taste the wine a little bit. I'm not a huge wine fan, but the flavor is pretty good. And like I said, I love the mushrooms, so this is good. All right, that was pretty good. Now, I'll admit I cheated a little bit after doing my first taste test. Afterwards, I dripped some of the sauce from the pan over the top of the meat, and that actually helped a bit. I thought it was a little bit flavorless initially, but when I put some of the sauce over the top of it, that really improved the flavor. It's a very good meal. Like I said, it's a pretty healthy meal. There's not really a whole lot in there that's unhealthy. I think in all, the total meal cost about $22 to do, and that was most of the chicken. And I'll get 4 meals out of that, so that's a reasonably cost-effective thing. It was pretty tasty, and yeah, I would think I would do that again. So anyway, I think that's all I have for today. I would like to take this moment to thank my newest Patreon, Sally Channing. Thank you so much, Sally, for contributing to my channel. I appreciate it very much. And that is, I think, all I have for tonight. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Good night.